About trust in God. Yesterday at Mass with the high school, we asked one of the seniors, he said, "Are your prayers answered?" Mike replied, "Sometimes." And I asked, "Well, what do you do when they're not answered?" He said, "I keep on praying." Then I asked, "And then are your prayers always answered?" And without a moment's hesitation, "Yes," he said. I think, sisters and brothers, we hear today's readings. It's all about trust in God. What did Abraham feel like, and certainly Sarah feel like, when God said, "You will become a father"? You know, Sarah was way up in age. How that must have resonated with him, or didn't resonate with him, and what must have gone through his mind. And yet what happens? She conceives a child. Abraham's prayers are answered. His, the Genesis said he prostrated himself before God. He becomes the father of many nations. He becomes Abraham, the beginning of all the prophets. The prayers were answered. Jesus in the temple. That's a pretty tough story today. He said, "Before Abraham, I am Yahweh," meaning he was always God. What happened to Jesus? They threw stones at him. Sisters and brothers, what a great lesson for us to persist, to go forward. When God is seemingly absent, seemingly not there, do we continue to move forward? Do we continue to trust that God will answer our prayers? I think in all of our lives, we've experienced situations, we've experienced people who find it difficult to move on to the next step when bad things continue to happen. Somehow, God always has the bigger picture. If we keep on praying, as the senior said, yes, he will answer them. What a beautiful story. C.S. Lewis says, in this kind of a situation, he says, in Mere Christianity, his book, a man who was merely a man and said the sort of things that Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else he's a madman or something worse. We too can pick up the rocks, metaphorically, or accept Jesus as the Son of God and receive his promise of eternal life. Sometimes our plans are not the same as God's plans. I hear this so frequently. We all have experienced probably people in our family, our extended family, or friends who have strayed, or for the time being have strayed from the church. How do we handle that? We continue to pray. We continue to be good examples. We continue to not use too many words, to live out the life of Christ, to walk the talk, to be the kind of person that Jesus himself would be if he were walking here. Kind, forgiving, always thinking of the other. Humility. Humility is not thinking less of ourselves, it's thinking about ourselves less often and thinking of the good of the other person. How do we help that other person to open his or her heart to see the presence of Jesus in his or her life as they go through their circumstances, through their trials and difficulties? I think if we keep that in our hearts uppermost in our mind, we too can experience the fact that Jesus always does answer our prayers if we but remain faithful and trust in his presence, just as Abraham and Jesus did in their human lives.